Hello everybody, hope everybody's doing great today. Appreciate those who watch this video. Let's get into Happy Gilmore 2 about the long ball hitting golfer who used to be a hockey player who was very, very violent. Anyways, let's get into this movie. This time around for Happy Gilmore 2, he has a family, which was great. He's an established golfer, but he loses his edge after he accidentally kills his wife. So you got some dark comedy there. And, you know, Happy Gilmore 1 did have some dark comedy when you talk about Carl Weathers' hand being, chewed off by an alligator and then he dies at the end. So, dark comedy in a Happy Gilmore movie is nothing new. So, he ends up becoming a drunk and losing all his money. But he kind of gains the inspiration to become a golfer once again when he finds out that his daughter wants to become a dancer. So Happy gets back into the shape and tries to hit the golf courses once again. There are some things the movie does well. It brings back familiar characters, so it does a lot of callbacks. Ben Stiller returns either as his old nursing self or as a relative of that guy. I didn't really understand if it was Ben Stiller was returning as his original character or not. I'm pretty sure he was, but that's kind of ambiguous there. Julie Bowen comes back as the wife. She dies early, but she's splattered. I'll just say splattered throughout the movie and here parts. And then Carl Weathers' character's son is in the movie. And then you got Shooter McGavin comes back, of course. And then there's a bunch of other cameos from earlier, from the first movie, like his first caddy. I think he's actually a golfer this time around and stuff. So you do got a lot of returning characters. You even got tombstones of the characters who died, who were played by actors who died between the two movies. So Bob Barker has a character. Tombstone, Carl Weathers has this tombstone, and there's a few other tombstones sprinkled through the graveyard. The family dynamic is another plus of the movie. Happy's kids respect him, and there's no forced bickering. They don't hate him or anything like that, which I've really enjoyed. The cameos are fun too. You got John Daly has a big part in this movie. Then you got Jack Nichols in the movie, and I'm pretty sure you got other golfers in this movie. I haven't watched a golfing match in probably about 30 years. Man, it's been forever. So if there are other golf players, that went over my head because I couldn't tell you one golf player. I think it was Lee Trevino or Gary Player that was the guy always shaking his head in the first movie. Unfortunately, we don't have that back in this movie at all, where you got one of the golfers always shaking their head about the absurd things that Happy Gilmore is doing on the golf course. That was kind of funny in the first movie. But the bad is hard to ignore about this movie. There are way too many callbacks to the original movies. Sometimes I feel like I'm watching a highlight film of the first movies. There's so many highlights of the first movie played in this one again. Like scene from scene, just replaying scenes from the first movie. And then the tone in this Happy Gilmore 2 is more fantasized than the first movie. The first movie kind of had like a basis of realism. The second one kind of dives head first into the fantasy, especially when we jump into the alternate golf league. That golf course is very unrealistic, impossible to have. Especially out there in the open on an open golf course. Maybe if they were doing it inside a big dome or something and they built everything, but just how it does, it really leans into the fantasy of the movie. And then for me personally, I think the biggest problem of the movie is that it didn't grow up or mature with the audience. The humor is still very childish. And after 30 years, it kind of makes it feel dated. It's nothing like seeing Adam Sandler, who's in his 50s or 60s, acting like a 20-year-old. He's just not funny anymore. It's kind of sad in a ways. And plus, the editing also could have been a little tighter. And honestly, the story might have worked better if it would have focused on one of the children and Happy there was more of a mentor. You still could have had a showdown between him and Shooter McGavin. You could have still had Shooter McGavin and Happy Gilmore working together, which, I think everybody was looking forward to those two characters being on the screen together. Christopher McDonald and Adam Sandler, being on the screen together. And we do get that. And this time we get them, combining their efforts to take down this alternative golf league. Which was probably like another great highlight was seeing those two characters back. It would have been nice to see a little bit more. It could even have gone to like maybe their children were going head to head, and you could have had one of those, how we had the Ball Barker, Happy Gilmore being on the same team. Maybe at the end we could have had Shooter and his son going against Happy and his son, something like that. But I think it would have been better if it would have focused more on the second generation of the Gilmores. Overall, Happy Gilmore 2 is a mixed bag. It's got some good laughs, fun cameos, and a few heartfelt moments. But the over-reliance on callbacks, childish humor, and a lack of growth kept it from being a worthy sequel. If you're a diehard Sandler fan, you'll find things to enjoy. But for everyone else, it's just a decent, nostalgic trip and nothing more. And if you haven't seen the first Happy Gilmore, I would just stay away from Happy Gilmore 2. If you didn't like the first Happy Gilmore, I wouldn't even bother with Happy Gilmore 2. I mean, why would you watch it anyways if you didn't like the first one, obviously. But, I think it's a missed opportunity. Some poor story choices. And like I said, he could have cut a lot out of all the flashbacks to the first Happy Gilmore movie. Probably could have trimmed it down from a 2.5 hour movie. It's a pretty long movie to like maybe an hour and a half would have been better too. But anyways, that's my take on Happy Gilmore 2. What do you guys think? Is it a great movie, or is it something is it a great movie, or is it kind of what we've been seeing a lot of Adam Sandler here recently? Let me know below, and have a great day. Bye.